Good afternoon, my YouTube viewers. Crystal here. What I wanted to do today is I wanted to go over with you my solution to the Analytics Vidhya Healthcare 2 Hackathon. I didn't get a very high percentage. I only got like a 21% when I submitted it on the Analytics Vidhya website, but the top score was like 43%. So it was a really difficult challenge. And of course, all the challenges are difficult. So even though I didn't get a high score, because I worked on it for 2 or 3 days, I don't remember exactly when I started working on it, if it was Thursday or Friday, but definitely I worked on it long and hard. I had been using some code from someone who was like really super, really fantastic coder. And I'd been using some of his code, and his code actually caused my program not to work. It's called the program not to work. And then, so I would get my output, but when I got my output, what happened was it just wouldn't accept it. Analytics Vidhya website wouldn't accept it. So basically, I tried a different model, and other people had worked. I tried the sample submission, and it worked on the sample submission. And I tried another model and it worked. So then I realized that it was actually this coding from this super duper programmer that was causing my submission to fail. And as a result of that, I had to take out all of his super duper coding, fantastic coding, and then put in my own coding, which was a lot simpler. And that's what I'm going to go over with you, my very simple coding. So I'm going to let you know in advance when I put it into the solution checker of Analytics Vidhya, I only got 21%, which is very low. But the best programmers only got like 43%. 43% was the highest the best programmers could get. So, and I'm going to keep on working on this. I used the Lasso command for this, but I'm going to keep on working on it and trying to use different modules and see if I can get a better score with different modules. So the first thing I did was I imported my modules, and you can see I've got a lot of modules that I imported because I was practicing so much trying to get it to work. And then the next thing I did was I loaded my data sets. And so basically what had happened was when I had loaded the data sets, they were very crafty what they did, because the columns were not in any kind of order. So over here where you had type of admission, I think there was something in here that says type of admission. It originally was like this type of admission, and so I couldn't do anything with that because it was 3 words. So I had to change it to this type of admission with the underscores, and the severity of the illness was exactly the same. So I had to do that. I had to change that to only 1 string of text with underscores. And I did that on the train file and the test file. So the people who did this competition, they were actually quite crafty, because a lot of their columns, you can see over here, like bed graved, are more than 1 word. And because it's more than 1 word, it's going to be more difficult when you start doing your programming. And so I just only changed these 2 because these were the 2 that I needed, and I didn't worry about the others. So you've got the train file, and what we have to do is we have to determine the stay of a patient. and then it tells you how many days it is, and it goes all the way up to 100 plus days. And then so here's the test file. The test file is exactly the same, except it doesn't have the stay in it. And then we've got the sample submission. This is what they want to see in the sample submission. And that's what happened when I used this really fancy programming from somebody else, and it caused something in the data to be corrupted. And so whenever I submitted my submission, Analytics Vidhaya would not accept it. And I just submitted the sample submission to see what would happen, and they would accept that. And that's when I realized, and then I was looking at some more code, and I tried a submission from somebody else's code, and it would accept that. So that's when I realized that it wasn't the actual model that was the problem. It was the pre-processing that was the problem. So I had to strip out the pre-processing of this really great programmer. Don't get me wrong, he was a really great programmer, came up with a lot of clever ideas, and I had to put in my more simple programming. So here's the sample submission. You can tell it's an integer and then an object. And then this is the trained data file. It just gives you a description of what each column is for. So we checked to see if we had any null characters in the train file and the test file. And so we found out we had null characters in the bed grade and the city code patient. So we replaced the bed grade with the mode, and we replaced the city code patient with the mode as well. We didn't have any numeric columns that had missing characters, and if we had any numeric columns that had missing characters, we would have replaced that with a median. So we checked to see if we had any null characters left, and no, we did not have any null characters left. So the next thing we did was we checked, we did a heat map. You can see a heat map of the different columns, and you can see how they relate. So we wanted to see the stay value counts, how many value counts were in stay. And what we did was we did a label encoder. So what I had been doing in the past is I had been setting up labels and then giving everybody a number myself, but I didn't need to do that. That was just taking a lot of time and effort on my part to do that, and I didn't need to do that. The only thing I needed to do was I needed to use label encoder. So I used label encoder on all of these numeric columns to try to put them, all of these text columns to convert them to a numeric value. And then so we did label encoder for the stay column as well, but I did the label encoder for the stay column separately, and the reason why is because at the end of this program we have to go back and we have to reverse it, and so that's why I assigned another variable for this label encoder, and we're going to be reversing it at the end of the program. So now you can see the train file's got all of these numeric values, which is what we wanted. And the test file has them as well. So what we did was we just checked our all features, means PD concat train iloc and test iloc. And then we have our numeric features equals all features D types that are not an object index. And then it said to fill all of the numeric values with 0 if they don't have a number on them. But we had already tested that previously, and there were not any 0 values in the numeric data anyway. So I just did this column on features, and I'm not really using it in this particular program, but I decided that since I typed it in, I would keep it in there because I'm going to may need it in another algorithm, because I'm going to be using more algorithms to try to improve my score. We set up our dummy variables for all features, and then we've got a shape, and the shape is 16 columns. So you can see all features again, and you can see that it's all numeric values, which is what we want, all numeric values, because the computer only deals with numeric values. So if it's got text in it, the text has to be converted to a numeric value. We've got ntrain, and ntrain is just the length of, I believe, the train file. If we can go back here and see if we can find it. I think I probably don't need it. I think I probably don't need ntrain. That was deleted. I deleted that file already. So we've got train features, we've got test features, we've got train labels, we've got train labels again. We don't need that. We've got Y, we've got X, we've got X test. So now what we're doing is we're predicting the stay, and I used two different, I tested it twice. The first time I tested it was just on the, what shall we say, the first time I tested it on like how much money they put into the hospital, their admission deposit, and then I tested it on severity of illness, and in both instances I only got like a 21%, so it doesn't really matter. And I used the Lasso function just because I just decided I want to get it to work. If I can get it to work, then I can work on improving it, but for the time being, we're just going to get it to work. And your target is your stay. And we had to reshape the stay column because it was an array. And then we had to set up the X and the X values. So we created our matrices for sklearn. And we split our test training set into 4 functions: train X, val X, train Y, val Y. And then we set up a standard scalar because I wanted the X and Y values to be a standard numeric value. And then we checked the shapes of train X, val X, train Y, and val Y. So we wanted to see train X, val X, train Y, and val Y just to see what was in them. And then I just went ahead and combined the 2 files just in case I needed them. Personally, I prefer, if I do something on a train file, then I go through and do it on the test file as well. But some people combine the files and only do it once, but I don't do that. So we did our combine get dummies, and we've got a value called result, which we're going to be using at a later date, which is a later time, which is another reason why I had to combine the files to get this result. We wanted to see the shape of X, which is 16 columns. We wanted to see the shape of test values, which is 16 columns. And I decided I was going to use the Lasso module, and I just wanted to get it to work. That's all I wanted, just to get it to work, because I can go through and try to improve my score. So CLF equals Lasso with an alpha of 0. CLF fit is train X, train Y. YPred equals CLF predict val X. Y train pred equals CLF predict train X. And then we got our percentages, which are not very high. And then what we had to do was we had to use a min-max scalar on this. And so we've got our YPred. So what we had to do was we had to reshape YPred, and then we had to put YPred on the scalar, on the min-max scalar, to bring it to a value between 0 and 1. And then we had to multiply it by 10 and make it an integer to come up with this value here, because I didn't know what to do it. I didn't know what to do. I'm not familiar enough on the models to be able to pick just exactly the model that I need. So I had to manipulate the figures in that way. So we did the same thing with Y train pred. And we did the same thing with final labels. Final labels equal CLF predict test values, and you get an array. And we had to do the same thing with final labels. We had to reshape it, and then we had to put it on the scalar and multiply it by 10 and make it an integer, and this is your output. And then what we did at the very end, we had to reverse the label encoder. So final labels equals LE underscore S dot inverse transform final labels. And then you can see your final labels is text, which is what Analytics VidHigh wants. So we put final labels into a data frame, and you can see that the output of the final labels is an integer and an objects. And so the final result went into a CSV file. You got a message saying your submission was successfully saved. And so now we loaded the submission, and I just checked the head file for the first 25 just to see what all was in there. And then after I did that, what I did was I downloaded the submission file and I submitted it to Analytics VidHigh, and I got like a 21%, which I know is low. I know that's very low, but I can work on it to try to improve it. And the very best programmers only got like a 43, 44% tops. So it was a very, very difficult challenge. And that's one of the reasons why I want to share the solution with you. So if you like my video, please like, subscribe, and share, and let me know what you think about my video and what you think about my solution. If you've got any advice or tips, then I certainly would be open to them. And if you like the work I do and you want to make a donation, I've got my email address for my PayPal account in the description box. The reason why is because I don't have enough subscribers to get monetized, so the only way I can make money off these videos is to ask for donations. So any donations will be very gratefully received. Thank you so much for watching this video to the very end, and I look forward to making another video for you.